Thank you for joining us for the 17th episode of
Pharm Girls.
So today our VIP, very important person today, is our General Counsel and Lobbyist here at the NPA, Bob Hallstrom. He's a partner at Brandt, Horan, Hallstom, and Stilmock. Hopefully I didn't slaughter any of those in Syracuse.
No, I think you did great. You did great. We have a lot to talk about with Bob regarding the legislative session that just ended. It was a crazy one this year.
Yeah.
As an association, getting laws changed and bringing new bills in front of the legislature is one of the most beneficial things that we do for our members and for the profession of pharmacies.
Okay, and of course we'll have some
Pharm Phacts. Yeah, and we're going to tell you about some fun events that are coming up.
Yeah.
Some of the events are members only.
Right.
So if you're not a member, you should join so you can take part in these great social and learning events.
Right.
We have done a couple recently.
Yes.
We just did in June, Meet the President-elect at Pint 9 Brewery.
Yeah.
That was fun with Corey Durbin, and we had a great showing.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun.
It was a good time. And a virtual music bingo night for the chain network.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the people that have an interest in chain pharmacy, they got to play music bingo, virtual music bingo. So
yeah, we're trying to do more fun things like that.
Yes.
In this year. So pay attention for those. Okay, so let's start off by talking about the NASPA meeting that you and Corey went to.
Yeah. So, I keep saying there's an association for everything.
Right. Yeah.
NASPA is the Association of State Pharmacy Associations.
Right.
And Corey, our president-elect, and I attended the 2023 State Pharmacy Association Leadership Conference hosted by NASPA, at the United States Pharmacopoeia headquarters in Rockville, Maryland. Okay. So just outside of DC.
Right. Fun.
And it was it was kind of cool to be at USP. They have, some historical stuff around there, and, it's an important part of pharmacy. So that was kind of cool.
Very cool.
There were just over 20 State Pharmacy Association president-elects and association leaders in attendance. We talked about association stuff, how to run an association, like financial management and governance. And it is really neat because they invite the leaders of the national organizations too. So APHA was there. Okay. Now NACDS was there. NCPA was there. AACP was there. So really cool to meet some of the the real bigwigs in the national pharmacy organizations.
And that's cool for Corey too.
Yeah. You got to meet other president-elects. Yeah. And we had some free time in the evening, and so a bunch of us went on a night tour of the monuments, which it's cool. Spectacular to see at night around DC. So very cool.
Very cool.
And now it's time for Pharm Phacts.
Okay. So before we talk to Bob, our VIP, I'm going to tell everyone about the origin of the lobbyist.
Ooh.
Yeah. Just in case you were wondering if that folklore.
Right. How did this happen?
Right.
How did people get this job?
Right. So the definition of lobbyist is one who conducts activities aimed at influencing or swaying public officials and especially members of a legislative body on legislation.
Okay.
A person engaged in lobbying public officials, which sounds kind of seedy. I mean, all that sounded kind of like, ooh, we're going to get you. Yeah, we got to influence these people. But a lot of people think that the word lobbyist came about because of President Ulysses S. Grant. And that's what we thought, actually, or that's what we had read. Right. The story is that he would go to the Willard Hotel and then sit in the lobby and enjoy a cigar and a brandy, just minding his business.
Which is just down the street from the White House. And the reason he would go there is because his wife did not want him to smoke a cigar in the White House.
Oh, well, that makes sense. Yeah.
That was the story I heard.
Okay, well, and so the Willard Hotel is where he would go in the lobby.
Right.
And so when he was there, people would buttonhole him, which I had to look what that is too. Basically detain him, hold him up by talking to him about their agendas, and he would call them lobbyists because they were in the lobby and trying to, talk to him. So, but it actually dates back further to the 19th century. Lobbyist, was preceded in use by the verb lobby to conduct activities aimed at influencing public officials and especially members of a legislative body on legislation, which has been in use since the early 19th century. So it when I was reading about it too, it was almost like when you had the Whig Party here.
Okay.
That's when it kind of started.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's how we have. I mean, the story of the Willard lobby sounds a little more fun than I like that story better. So yeah,
it's interesting, and they still do their work in the lobby of the Capitol.
Yeah,
they do.
And sometimes you see all the lobbyists standing out there.
That's where they're doing their work.
Exactly.
Yeah. So still applies today.
Yes.
Okay, well, this legislative session has been a roller coaster. And we are lucky today. I have our lobbyist from the NPA, Bob Hallstrom, the one and only, with us. Thank you for joining us today, Bob. So explain, what does a lobbyist do, and why is it beneficial for the NPA to have one?
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Marcia, Amy. Having grown up in southeast Nebraska in a farming community, I was really fired up to receive an invitation to appear with the Pharm Girls. And then,
what a disappointment.
Then I unfortunately realized that it's PH rather than
us.
F. But nonetheless, I'm excited to be here, and thank you for the invitation.
I love it.
With regard to lobbying and lobbyists, a couple things come to mind. First one is that you are an advocate for your client's interest.
Okay.
And second, other people might view you as a hired gun. But I think most importantly is you serve as a vital source of information to state legislators. They face a multitude of issues. They come from a variety of backgrounds. You'll have folks that are bankers, lawyers, farmers, teachers, realtors, who will have a specialized base of knowledge in the area that they come from. But with the many issues that are over there, it's just too hard for them to be subject matter experts on everything. So it's important for us to provide them with that source of information regarding pharmacy issues in this case.
Sure.
With regard to why it's important to the NPA and its members, I'm your boots on the ground. I'm your voice at the Capitol.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the most important thing, and I would encourage everyone to get to know and meet your senator so that when you send an email or you pick up the phone or you walk into their office, they know who you are and what you do in the community, because that's important to them. So I think those types of things, be involved and engaged. When you get a call to action on a particular piece of legislation, respond and make a difference. A lot of people say, well, everybody calls. They don't.
Right.
If an organization can get a good percentage of their membership to respond on a particular issue, you'll make a difference.
Well, and I think a great way to start a relationship with your elected officials is to either, if you really support this person, work in their campaign.
Yeah, there's a lot of areas working the campaign. Something as simple as walking in a parade, putting up a yard sign, and the most interesting thing is sponsoring a fundraiser. You can have a local hot dog and lemonade fundraiser, and if you can get people and friends to donate $2 or $5, there's something about reaching into your wallet and making a contribution or a commitment that makes you more likely to vote for that person. And I think the other thing is, if you are engaged in supporting a particular candidate, particularly if they are supportive of business issues and pharmacy in particular, is to tell your friends who you're voting for and who you support, because a lot of folks don't pay enough attention to know what's going on, who they ought to vote for. And if they respect what your opinion is, you can make a difference in that regard for the candidate of your choice.
Yeah, well, and if our members don't know who to donate to, they can always donate money to our PAC, our Political Action Campaign Fund.
Right.
So, if people are interested in learning more about that, they can just reach out to me.
Certainly, much like the NPA takes the collective voices of their members, the PAC can take their collective contributions and make a difference in those election races.
Yeah, well, and Bob has been great about advising me and the NPA on how to distribute those PAC funds so that we get, the most we can. We don't have a huge PAC, but, donating to key senators, I think, is really important. And Bob's been instrumental in helping us navigate that. So that's been awesome.
Yeah, and obviously we focus on Health and Human Services Committee members who take up our bread and butter issues on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I think too, you go to a lot of the luncheons, the functions, so we're trying to get our faces out there too, just so they know who we are, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, and Bob represents the Bankers Association, and you do some workman's comp
Yep, we've got the Nebraskans for Workers' Comp Equity and Fairness, National Federation of Independent Business, the Nebraska State Volunteer Firefighters. So we keep busy down at the Capitol.
Yeah.
Well, I guess my point is this: I love the fact that when a senator sees Bob, if they know him, and they all do, they're thinking, bankers, firefighters, pharmacists, workman's comp. When they see him, he is our face at the Capitol.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or otherwise, Bob is the face of the NPA at the Capitol. No, that's great. It's
gray in
great.
the temple and long in the tooth.
Oh, gosh.
Okay, so how long have you lobbied for the NPA, and what got you started with us?
Oh, yeah.
Well, probably, at least to me, an interesting story. It's going on just over 42 years. I started in 1981 with the Pharmacist Association.
He was 10.
I had no idea.
Yes,
Okay. You've been with us that long. Okay.
I was in diapers, and that's probably the way I'll go out as well.
Baby boss right here.
Nonetheless, a fraternity brother, and since then, a dear friend of mine, Bill Weaver, who practiced in Geneva, among other places, had graduated from the College of Pharmacy. And I indicated to him when I was hired with my law firm back home in Syracuse, with my senior partner being at that time the General Counsel for the Nebraska Bankers Association, that I would probably like to get into the lobbying field as well. And that if the pharmacist ever needed help, needed to hire a lobbyist, I told Bill to keep me in mind. Well, as luck would have it, I think Bill graduated in 78. And in 81, he called and said, we're thinking about rewriting the Pharmacy Practice Act. And we're going to be interviewing lobbyists. And I interviewed at that time with Bob Marshall, who was the exec of the NPA. And as luck would have it, I got the job, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Right.
And I would say, over the years, I started out working with Bob Marshall, Tom Dolan, Joni Cover, now Marcia.
Right.
Just been a pleasure to work with all of the execs and the staff at the NPA.
Thanks. Well, and that's a good relationship to have with someone. So that's, it's not like, someone's just coming in and winging it for us here.
No, Bob knows everybody.
Bob knows it. Yeah.
He knows everybody at the Capitol, and they know him and they respect him, and his integrity as a lobbyist is well known.
Yeah. Which is
so
lucky for us. Yeah.
Yeah. We're glad that you represent us down there, Bob.
Thank you.
You do a great job. All right. So we keep saying what just happened when we talk about this legislative
session. This was a little
session.
crazy. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So
I
tell
think
us.
even for people who don't pay attention much to that.
Yeah.
It's been on the news so much of just everything.
Yeah, I think everybody stood up and took notice.
Yeah,
and
like, whoa, what's going on?
I always made the comment, the way the session rolled out, that if you were on the bus, it was okay. If you were under the bus, look out.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But
it
truly was a session for the ages, one like no other. But interestingly enough, when you break the session down, I look at it from a substantive perspective and from a procedural perspective. Substantive, fantastic. Procedural, not so much. The substance, the legislature passed major transformative legislation in the areas of individual and corporate income tax relief, property tax relief, both direct and indirect, more money into the property tax credit fund, and more money into state aid to education. On the education funding side, they have provided state aid to education in the form of $1,500 per student. They've provided a guaranteed 80% of special ed funding. And they've also created what they refer to as the Education Futures Fund, which was funded with $1 billion, with a B, dollars this year, and $250 million every year going forward.
Wow.
One of the reasons they could do that is because we had approaching $2 billion in the reserve fund. And so they had the money to do those things. At the same time, they were prudent in their spending, a 2.3% increase over the next biennium. So all in all, quite a bit done from a substantive point of view. Then when you look at the procedure, a completely different story. For those that watch NET, what I refer to as legislature for shut-ins, if they had time to do that, They saw that there was constant discussion, not on the substance of bills, but just talking about everything and everything, what we refer to commonly as a filibuster.
Right. Okay.
And so they were filibustering virtually every bill after about the first 15 or 20 days of the session. And we had, with this being a new long 90-day session, bill introductions for 10 days. We had half-day hearings to adopt the rules, took up just a handful of bills. Then we decided to have all-day committee hearings. And when we came back, all heck had broken loose.
Right.
And the filibuster rule is that if a bill is controversial, and in most cases this year that wasn't a prerequisite, after 8 hours of debate on general file, you can file a motion to invoke cloture or to stop debate and move to vote on the underlying bill and any pending amendments. This happened on virtually every bill.
Right.
And the story behind the story is that we started out the session and we had some rules changes that were considered that they thought were going to be in dispute. The main one was to do away with the secret ballot to elect the committee chairs and the leadership of the legislature. Okay. Well, that fell by the wayside, so we dodged a bullet there. But the next thing that happened were the committee chairs were elected. And shouldn't have been surprising, even though we're nonpartisan. There's 32 registered Republicans, 17 registered Democrats, 14 Republicans were elected to committee chairs, and I think 3 Democrats. Not surprising given the vote breakdown. Then we went to committee assignments. And this was kind of the first break in the dam, if you will. The committee assignments came out, and those who weren't happy felt that there had been some committee stacking. And you look at it, and if you're looking at it from a partisan perspective, every committee had a majority of Republicans with the exception of Judiciary. And then what happens is bills get assigned to committees based on their subject matter. Right. Pharmacy bills go to health and so forth. Okay. The abortion bill, which was highly controversial this session, was referred to the Health and Human Services Committee after going for years to Judiciary. Judiciary was a 4-4 breakdown, which might have caused some issues in getting it out of committee quickly. But instead it went to Health and Human Services, came out rather quickly, and there was some consternation over that fact. Sure. And then probably the major issue in terms of what led to the filibusters was the introduction and advancement of LB 574, which had to do with restrictions on transgender surgery and use of hormones. Right. So
in young people.
In minors. Right. So all of that stuff put together led us to the, not the perfect storm, the imperfect storm in terms of what happened procedurally.
Right. Yeah, it was a whirlwind of things.
Yeah, we don't often make the national news.
No, not.
And we did. And I think the other issue is the legislature, led by Speaker Arch, found a way to do the people's business nonetheless. And it was something that was significantly different. We have traditionally referred to committee bills being packaged, and we call them Christmas tree bills.
I know. I had no idea what Marcia kept saying that, and I was like, what are you talking
Christmas
about?
Tree bill is a bill that takes a number of related subject matter that came out of the same committee, packaging them together. But typically that would be maybe 4, 5, 6 bills were added on to the underlying bill, and it was prioritized. This year, when we saw what was going and running headlong into that procedural battle, the speaker told the committee chairs, who are typically entitled to get 2 committee priorities each, that they probably were only going to have time for 1. And they might want to combine everything that was going to go into the 2 separate bills into a single legislative package. And the long and the short of it is we coined the phrase mega Christmas tree bills.
Because, megas.
Yeah, there were committee bills that had between 20 and 30 other bills that were packaged together. And the one thing in terms of saying that the state's business got done, there were only 33 bill numbers that were passed. But those 33 bills contained 291 separate bills, either in their entirety or at least portions of them. And that compares favorably to the total number of bills that usually would have been passed one at a time, or no more than 6 or 8 bills in a single bill.
So the packaging really does help, though, or the Christmas tree, because otherwise your bill's not even being heard at that point, or on it.
As I presume we'll talk about here in just a moment, we had a number of our pharmacy bills that ended up getting packaged together. Different bill number, but they got to the right destination, which is adopted by the legislature and signed by the governor.
Right. So can you share the status of the bills of interest to the pharmacy professionals in Nebraska?
Sure. Just an overview of what we did this session. Our process is we get together with our legislative committee in the fall. They make recommendations, which are not binding, but recommendations to the board of directors, and then the board of directors makes final decisions on primarily bills that we're going to introduce. Okay. Then once the 10-day bill introduction period runs and we see what's been introduced that's of interest to NPA beyond the affirmative bills that we've had introduced on our behalf, we get together again with the board of directors and take support, oppose, watch, seek amendments, different positions on those bills. Those keeping track of numbers, we had 31 bills that we followed. We had 5 bills that were introduced on behalf of the NPA. We actually had 6, but we packaged 2 of them together in a single bill before they were introduced. And we had 15 bills that we supported, 2 bills that we opposed, and the rest were watch or seek amendments. And of those, we got 3 of our 5 affirmative legislative bills across the finish line. Senator Ben Hansen introduced LB 181. You can disregard the original bill number because it ended up being amended into 227, which was a Health and Human Services Committee priority bill. That was a bill that was actually the idea of the students at UNMC to come up with authorized or emergency refills that could continue to be filled in the professional judgment of a pharmacist, notwithstanding the death, illness, retirement, suspension, or revocation of credentials. And that did get passed through LB 227. LB 202 was introduced by Senator Walz. This was the Pharmacy Tech Vaccine Administration legislation. We had introduced that the year before. We were asked to go through the 407 review process, which we did. We passed it with flying colors, reintroduced it this session, and it also was adopted as part of 227. The emergency at the federal level had expired shortly before that, but these provisions with regard to Pharmacy Tech Vaccine Administration were passed with the emergency clause, which means it took effect upon the signature by the governor. Another bill that we passed was LB 436. This one was part of LB 157, and that was the updating of the Controlled Substance Schedule bill. It was originally introduced by Senator Geist, who resigned from the legislature, and Senator Bosson took over that bill for her, and Senator DeBoer was the primary sponsor of the 157 amendments. Bo Ballard from here in Lincoln introduced 548, which was also a piece of 227, had to do with the jurisprudence exam score. The prior law said you had to have a score of exactly 75%, which was a bit nonsensical. So we just clarified that. That was purely technical. And then we also updated the USP compounding reference to federal law, which was I think 2015, we updated that to incorporate any federal changes in the rules and regulations to January 1 of 2023. The 2 other bills that we introduced that have not made it to the finish line, LB 204, Senator Reapy introduced that to increase the Medicaid dispensing fee to $10.38. That bill has advanced in modified form to general file. It had a fiscal note of $32 million, of which about $11 million was state funding requirement. The Department of Health asked us to go back and find a lower number, and we did so by utilizing an existing definition of independent pharmacy, which is pharmacies that own 6 or fewer locations. Okay. And with that amendment, it reduced the cost by about half. And we're hopeful next year that we'll get a jump start on that and either get into an appropriations measure or get the bill passed on its own since it's already up and running.
Right, okay.
And the final bill was LB 778 with regard to PBM regulation. We had passed a fairly significant regulation allowing the insurance department to regulate PBMs the year before. Still had some unfinished business, as I think pharmacists are aware of. We introduced 778 to take care of a glitch in last year's legislation to make sure that we have employer-sponsored plans and Medicaid covered and subject to regulation and supervision by the Department of Insurance. And then we had a number of substantive provisions outlawing spread pricing, establishing a PBM duty of care, good faith, and fair dealing, no patient steering to PBM affiliates, and equal pricing for network pharmacies to the pricing that's allowed for PBM mail-order pharmacy. So we had all of those provisions in there. There is an interim study resolution, LR 137, which Senator Bostar and interestingly, 5 members, including Senator Bostar of the Banking Committee, are co-sponsors of that interim study resolution. So doesn't mean what'll happen at the end of the day, but it's nice to have a majority of the Banking Committee where this bill was referred on board with the need to study this issue in further detail and figure out what we can come forward with. We're anticipating that we'll have informal meetings. We're not sure we'll have a formal committee hearing during the summer, but we'll have informal meetings of interested parties to try and hammer out some positive changes for the pharmacy industry.
Okay.
Well, and one thing I want to point out is that part of every member's dues helps to pay for our contract lobbyists.
Right.
And without the NPA members, I want everybody to celebrate these victories because without our members, we wouldn't be able to have such great representation at the Capitol. So membership is important.
Yes.
And
it is, I mean, it's a lot. I mean,
it's a lot of work.
This is a lot of work. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I guess I was kind of interested to know, as a professional, Bob is a lobbyist and an attorney.
Right.
So when the session's not in, do you have other lawyery stuff to do?
Oh, certainly. I practice law down in Syracuse, and I've got my own general practice.
Okay.
So I do a lot of legal work, a lot of Saturday mornings, late afternoons, early evenings, and things of that nature, because I do with the clientele that we've got up in Lincoln. I spend a lot of time in Lincoln, particularly during the session, but even in the off session. We'll start getting ready to survey our members as to what they think ought to be introduced. So we'll hit the ground running and start drafting and putting ideas together to get together with our legislative committee and our board next fall to figure out what new issues we add to those that are being carried over. And those issues, since this was the long 90-day session, the issues that did not pass this year, unless they were indefinitely postponed, will be carried over to the 2024 short 60-day session of the biennium. And just finishing up real quickly, other bills, just so the members know, that are still pending. LB 448 was the white bagging bill that we supported. LB 595, a bill that we opposed that will probably be working with other parties that are interested, was the pharmacy technician intern ratio, increasing that from 3 to 4. That bill did get out to general file, but we knew it wasn't going anywhere. Probably the committee wanted us to get together in good faith with the other interested parties. So they put our feet to the fire a little bit in advancing the bill. We also had, as part of LB 50, LB 395 or 795, I think it was. I'd be wrong on the number, having to do with school district personnel immunity for administering naloxone. Made it as part of LB 50. And then the limitation on prescription insulin copays LB 779 was part of LB 92, the Banking Committee Priority Bill.
Yeah.
So there were some other bills that we were interested in that made it across the finish line.
Yeah. Well, and I know you're not surprised, but I've already had members reach out to me saying, hey, can we consider this or that for next year's session already? Yeah. So, yeah.
And if you are a member and you've got something that you're concerned about or wondering about.
We're going to do we're going to do a survey and get some input from our members. So like Bob noted. So it never stops, I guess, is what the underlying theme is. Right. Is Bob's
just
job
because it's over,
never
it
stops. Right. So a lot of people don't understand the steps of lawmaking in Nebraska. It seems complicated, but when I talk to people from other states that have two houses, I just can't even imagine. But can you explain to us in very, very small words the lawmaking process in Nebraska? What are the steps?
Well, basically, we've already talked a little bit about it. Organizations like ours will get our membership together. We'll make decisions on what issues are important to us. And it may be something that's just an idea, or it may be, I've been looking at this particular statute and it requires me to do this. Is there a way that we can eliminate that or change it to make it less burdensome? And once we get those ideas, then I get my marching orders to go draft things to address those issues. And once we have the drafts put together, we get approval from our legislative committee and board, as I indicated, and then we look up a sponsor. If it's an affirmative legislative bill, we will have a sponsor who has to introduce that bill during the first 10 days of the legislative session.
That sponsors one of the senators.
It can be one or more, but you'll have a primary sponsor, Senator Walz on the Pharmacy Tech Administration bill, for example. And once that bill's introduced, then it is referred to a committee based on subject matter jurisdiction. Bills with criminal penalties go to judiciary. Healthcare related bills go to Health and Human Services and so forth. So once we've got the bill assigned to a committee, there's a public hearing that's scheduled. Now, Nebraska, because of its unique unicameral one-house legislative process, has a committee hearing for every bill preceded by 7 days' notice, which is to give the public the opportunity to have ample notice to come in and testify if they're so inclined. Once that committee hearing is held, then, depending upon whether you support it, you're interested in getting the bill out of committee and onto the floor to move forward in the process, or if you oppose it, you're trying to stonewall it in committee. And it takes a majority of those voting to advance a bill. So we will lobby the committee members. We've given testimony on a bill that we support or oppose. Then we're independently lobbying either through me and or our membership on particular issues. And we try to keep those in committee that we oppose and get those out on the floor that we support. Once you get, if you're supporting a bill to get out on the floor of the legislature, you get a majority of the committee members to support it. Interestingly enough, they go into executive session, and the executive session is closed to everyone except the media. The media can be there for reporting purposes, but they don't let the lobbyist in there to give thumbs up or thumbs down, depending upon what the issue is. But at the end of the day, if that bill gets out, then you have advanced to general file, the first round of debate. And because we don't have the two-house system, instead of just a bill passing and then it goes to the other house in another state, to the House or the Senate, and then they conference committee together to figure out what the bill is that they jointly want to send on to the president or to the governor in a state, we have a situation where we have 3 rounds of debate and it takes 25 votes to get a bill advanced from each round of debate. Now, I mentioned earlier the filibuster rule. If something is controversial, if you don't get 33 votes, you don't get that vote that only requires 25. So you have to stop debate, invoke cloture, and then get 25 votes to move your bill on. But once you've done that 3 rounds of debate, it goes to the governor. The governor either signs the bill, vetoes it, or allows it to become law without his or her signature. In the case of a veto, you then have an opportunity to override that with 30 votes. So it's 25 to pass, 33 to invoke cloture, but 30 votes to override a gubernatorial veto. One of the interesting things that has not happened for a number of years, we have a term we refer to as a pocket veto. A pocket veto occurs when the legislature is already adjourned sine die. They're out of session, but they passed a bill so late in the process that the governor has 5 days to act. And if the session is done, and it's vetoed subsequent to the end of the session. Now, what's happened in recent years, legislature and governor working very well together. The legislature, for example, this year, it's a 90-day session. They got to day 88, and they were going to have day 89 and then recess for 5 days.
Oh, okay.
The governor came and said, if you've got your work done, in essence, on day 88, I will get any potential vetoes, of which there were none. I'll get any potential veto back before you adjourn for the year. So they would have been able to take up a veto override. And the governor vetoed, I think, 119 million line item vetoes in the budget. The legislature in that particular respect took up about, 6 or 7 veto overrides. They were only successful in one, so they cut they cut $1 million off of what the governor was trying to get rid of. So the governor was very, very successful in his veto budget cutting as well.
Sure. Wow. It sounds complicated, but I mean, the way you explain it, there's a lot of ifs, ands, or buts, but it's a very interesting process. Yeah. Really, really interesting.
Yeah. And you can always watch it too. So if you haven't watched some of the legislature while it's going on, you're able to, and it is cool to watch. I thought like, no, am I going to be interested in this? But yeah, it's pretty cool once you're there doing it
and you can get on the legislative website and they've got live streaming of committee hearings and floor debate as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've kind of already covered this quite a bit, but as an association, we work with Bob obviously to decide which we're going to bring forth each year. And so what do we do in order to figure out what we're going to bring forward? I know the board has to approve it, but we have the legislative I totally just forgot the name of it.
Committee.
That we gather, and anyone can be on that committee, correct?
Any member
can be on the committee. And so then it's really just here's what people think needs to be brought forward, and then people saying, probably not that.
Yeah,
Bob saying, maybe.
Yeah, I'd encourage the membership. One of those issues, and Marcia indicated earlier that we do some informal surveying, and we give the opportunity to alert the membership to know that if they do have one of those issues that it ought to be a law type of thing, they can certainly draw that to Marcia's attention. She'll put it on the agenda first for the legislative committee and then ultimately the board. And we'll have, last year we probably had at least a dozen different issues, some of which the legislative committee said ought to fall on the cutting room floor, and the board agreed, and so we didn't go forward with those. Some of those may resurface this year, but obviously we take member inquiries very seriously, so we tee those up, we take them up, we give them due consideration, and some of them not only get introduced but become law. And the issue on the authorized emergency refills was kind of a neat process this year with the students being involved, coming up with an idea and then seeing it come to fruition.
They came for the hearing. They came for the hearing and
did a nice job testifying. A couple of the students.
What a cool experience!
And one of the students' parents even came in and testified.
Which is great. From Western Nebraska.
It was solid testimony. I think it might have made all the difference.
He did a good job. And we have probably over 40 people who are on the legislative committee.
Big active committee.
It's probably our biggest and most active committee.
So that's awesome. Congratulations on a successful session.
Yes.
We appreciate your work for taking care of our profession because Bob's got this, and
thank God for Bob.
No kidding. Well, there are some other questions that probing important questions, that we have for you,
right?
So
as we always do.
So, Bob, what is your favorite cookie?
Snickerdoodle.
Snickerdoodle's at the top of the list.
Okay. I was going to say, if someone says they don't like cookies, I'm just going to walk right out of here.
No nuts.
No. Girl cookies only.
I do not like nuts in baked goods at all.
Love nuts, but not in baked.
Me too, yeah. Like give me a jar of peanuts or something, but don't put them in.
Don't sneak them in my
don't
brownie.
Sneak them in my brownies. No, yes, exactly.
Fair enough. Amy, your favorite cookie?
Oh gosh, probably double stuffed Oreos.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
but I kind of like to take one half off, eat the stuff in the middle, and then just leave the
that there on the couch.
leave the cookie part. Yeah,
It's also hard to beat a warm chocolate chip cookie.
yes.
And I got to tell you, that's my go-to.
See, but I'm like I like them kind of crispy cookie. I'm not the doughy. Like I hate cookie dough.
Yeah, I like a nice soft doughy cookie.
Yeah. What's your favorite?
Chocolate chip,
Chocolate
for
chip.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. In
Well,
case
although
you were wondering.
one of my best friends, her mom used to make snickerdoodles, and you would just go right into the cupboard and get the homemade snickerdoodles all the time out of the cupboard. Yeah.
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 My mom still makes the best snickerdoodles.
I'll expect some in the mail.
Right? Yes.
Okay, fair.
Or perhaps hand delivered.
Right.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, so now we're going to play a game.
Yeah.
We always have a game. So this time it's going to be one we've never played called Scar Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I kind of wish I did something like Star Wars. Yeah, we need that to like echo or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Luke,
so.
I am your father.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Why did you
I need
fall
a mask that
down?
made that noise. Yeah. Okay, so tell us how this works.
Okay, so I'm going to start. I'm going to tell you about. I only have 2 scars that I'm going to share the story on.
Okay.
Okay, but I'll go first,
Okay.
and it has to be a good story.
Okay.
It has to be a good story,
Okay.
and of course, I do have a good story. So
Okay.
I don't remember how old I was. Maybe 8,
Okay.
and it was the last day of swimming lessons at the pool, and my mom was there, and I didn't have the nerve to tell him I didn't really know how to dive. And then, the test was you had to dive in, swim across the pool, and swim back.
Okay.
I wasn't confident in my diving skills, so I instead kind of started to dive and chickened out, jumped on the ladder, and split my chin open.
Gosh. Okay.
So, that's not a very happy or interesting story.
Right.
However, when they went to tell my mother that I had split my chin open, she fainted, and the neighbor lady had to take me to the hospital.
No.
And this isn't my Scar Wars story, but funny you should say that because our oldest daughter, Erin, got cut almost identical place below the chin once she ran into a tabletop at the Elms Ballroom in Syracuse, for any of you that might have been to that years ago. And we had the same. We had her tied down in the papoose to take care of the thing. And Lorraine, my wife, was fine until she got out to the counter to check out, and she dropped like a shot.
Oh, no. Yeah, some people aren't good in.
No.
Yeah.
Does she have a history of doing that?
No,
That was the one and only time.
Yeah.
One
That
and
was the
done.
time. Okay.
Dang.
What was your other scar?
Oh, I'll let
we're
others
going
take
around.
turns.
Okay,
Yeah,
Bob.
yeah, Bob, I want to
you go.
hear. Let's hear.
Well, I'm not going to give the visual or TMI having to do with my hip replacement, both of them.
Yes.
But I
yes.
did have knee surgery when I was probably in about the 8th grade,
Really?
Oh, my
playing
gosh.
third base in baseball. And the opposing team's catcher, who happened to be a fairly large young man at that time, slid into me at third base and tore out my knee.
Oh,
so I was
my
out of baseball, missed some of junior high basketball the next year, but I held on to the ball.
Oh, nice. Good story.
I love that.
That is a good story.
Yeah, ultimately.
Yeah.
What matters?
Right.
Attaboy.
I have a lot of scars.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like Bob, probably too much information on a lot of them, but yeah, as a lot of people know, I've had breast cancer, so I got the scars for people. But I do have, and if I go like this, I have 2 scars on each side of my face. And that is, I think, almost within the same year, if not the same summer. When I was around 5 years old, I got bit by 2 different dogs. As a little kid. One big German Shepherd, and then one tiny little dog. Neither of my dogs. And I've never been afraid of dogs ever in my life still. And some people call me a dog whisperer. So, yeah, I did not blame them. I was more worried that something was going to happen to them after they bit me. So,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
You are a dog lover. Because
yeah, I am a dog lover.
I don't think I would have been friendly towards the dog that bit my face.
Yeah, it was okay.
Yeah.
I survived.
Okay, so my next scar is actually pharmacy related, and you might be able to see it. See how it kind of puffs up there a little bit. Okay, so in a pharmacy, the packages that come from the manufacturer, sometimes they'll glue that little the string of paper to it, the product information, prescribing information. They'll fold it up so nicely and then glue it on the bottle. And I was the pharmacist, I was an intern, the pharmacist was on the phone, and I pulled that prescribing information off, the package insert off, and it had some glue. So I decided it had to be removed with a single edge razor blade. Of course I did my thing, and once I realized what happened, I just kind of held my thumb over the sink until he got off the phone, and I said, might not be a good time to tell you I'm a bleeder.
Oh, no.
I thought this was going to be a paper cut story.
I was like, really? You got a scar from a paper cut? That's where I thought it was going. Yeah, I was like, Jesus, what kind of paper was that? Yeah.
Doing something really stupid. And this was a clinic pharmacy, so my boss was like, if anybody's going to put a stitch in that, it'll be the plastic surgeon upstairs.
Oh.
So they sent me to the plastic surgeon upstairs, and he had called ahead.
Right.
And so I was all wrapped up, and I'm like, I am here from the pharmacy. And they're like, oh, okay. I sat down, and the receptionist, I didn't let me sit there very long. She goes, will you come on here? I thought, wow, I'm getting the red carpet treatment. Right. She's like, no, we don't want you bleeding in our waiting room. Oh, no. Anyway, long story short, plastic
years
surgeon.
ago, I was at an NPA convention, probably in Kearney.
Oh, uh-huh.
And a bunch of us went to the hot tub, and Allie noticed that I had not had stitches taken out and should have had them taken out some time before. So she took care of it.
How nice of her to take your stitches out.
That's so nice.
Oh my gosh. They were probably soaked just long enough that they came out.
Yeah, in the nice warm water. Yeah. Okay, so what's another scar, Bob? Are we doing 2 each, or what are we doing?
Sure, whatever you got.
I just gave you my second one.
Oh, your arm. That's where the stitches were.
Because I do have a scar.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Allie did a magnificent job, but I still do have a scar.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes they just can't get that skin to go back the way it used to be.
I don't know if I have any other fun ones. I'm trying to think, because I have, which I might have a scar there. I did, because I'm a barber, also part-time, but I did cut the top of my finger. Like sometimes when you're doing hair, you accidentally cut into and I did pretty good, but I just wrapped that baby up, put a glove on, kept bleeding, but it kept bleeding all night. And so then my mom was finally like, okay, you need to go to the emergency room. And
I probably have some scars on my ears from my barber.
From your barber. Yeah, you never know. Yeah, exactly. Right?
Have you ever cut somebody?
Once
in a great while, you
might.
Plead
the fifth.
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of. Yeah, no one ever said anything if I did. No. Yeah.
Oh, dang. Well, thank you, Bob, for being with us on the podcast and talking to us about what just happened in this legislative session.
And I'll just finish up by saying Pharm Girls rock.
Hey, it's true. It's true.
So, on to events.
Yeah.
July 10th is the Board of Pharmacy meeting, and you go to all of those.
I do.
Yeah, and sometimes, depending on what's happening, we might have rotation students go with us or a fellow. I've gone to them before, so just,
Depends on what's on the agenda.
What's up, yeah.
Yeah. But we always go so that we can hear the discussion, and oftentimes we bring questions.
Right. And we share that then with our members, too, so people know what's happening with the Board of Pharmacy also.
Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think anybody has time to go to all those meetings.
Probably not. Yeah, you're allowed to, I think.
Yes.
But
yeah, anybody can go, but very few people do.
Right. Okay, so then on July 11th, the next day, there's a dinner program on Omnipod at Johnny's Italian Steakhouse, which you told me was fabulous.
Oh my gosh, best, really, really good food.
Yes. So an RSVP is required for that. Space is limited. So some members contacted us asking for information on the latest Omnipod, and you made it happen.
Yeah. Well, so evidently there's several large groups of people. I think the VA patients and the military patients at Offutt.
Okay.
They're going to the Omnipod, which is an insulin delivery system.
Okay.
So it's very techy, very cool, very Jetsons.
Oh.
So this is the hottest, latest in insulin delivery technology at a fabulous restaurant.
Right.
Johnny's Italian Steakhouse is not to be confused with Johnny's.
Okay. Two different places.
Two different places.
Two very different places.
This place is out by Village Point in Omaha.
Oh, okay. And so we will have information up on this. You'll also get information in the Daily Dose that'll come out so that you can RSVP for that. Is this a members only? event?
We're only going to let our members know about this event.
Okay.
Initially.
Okay.
I have a feeling that we're going to fill up all of our spots.
Okay. So members first, and then if there's spots left, we'll see.
Yeah. The next fun thing is on July 14th, there is going to be a fundraiser for the foundation at Pegleg Brewery in North Platte.
Yeah.
There's going to be a beer tasting.
Right.
What was it? You get 4 5-ounce tasters.
Right.
For $25.
$25. Yeah.
Yeah. And proceeds go to the Nebraska Pharmacy Foundation, which supports scholarships for pharmacy students.
And the last one we did was great. We did the dinosaur golfing one, and that was super fun. So
that was super
everyone had a great
fun.
time.
Yeah. So what better way to raise some money for the foundation than drinking beer?
Right. I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Bring a friend, raise some money. And learn more on the Nebraska Pharmacy Foundation's website. You can actually, registration's required.
Okay.
So people will go to the website and register for this event in North Platte.
Okay.
Or make a donation.
Okay.
Perfect. So
Perfect.
super. Yeah.
Fun.
July's going to be busy.
Right. Yeah. And then July 18th is the new Practitioner Network meeting. This is an in-person members-only event at Pint Brewery in Omaha at 7:30. And Pint Brewery is a fun place. You can tell it's like a local place that people love to go. Good beer. They have food trucks a lot of times. Yeah. So we end up going there quite a bit.
And it has a pharmacy story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Don Klepser,
one of the owners, Lee Hankey, one of the owners. So yeah, I mean, if you want to
support pharmacy in a way, of drinking beer.
Hey,
right.
What better way?
This is a good way to do it. Yeah,
you bet. Absolutely.
So our new Practitioner Network chair, is going to be talking about personal finances. The title of his talk is Stealth Wealth.
Yeah.
Simple habits to fund a rich and fulfilling life as a pharmacist.
Yeah. Andy Stecklin has really been very disciplined with his finances since he graduated just a few years ago.
Very nice. He's like a Raj.
He is like Raj.
Yeah.
And I think that, no matter how long you've been out of school, if you're interested in learning more about how to accumulate wealth, he is going to be a great practical speaker on the matter. Pharmacist to pharmacist, pharmacist to technician, whatever. So yeah, it's going to be a great event, and we'll have some snacks and listen to Andy.
Yeah.
It's going to be a great talk.
And I think too, with a lot of this, with a lot of these members only events, that's kind of, if you're not a member, join up, because even this is worth what you pay for a membership to go and do some of these things. So
going to be good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And on July 27th, the Technician Network is going to have a virtual law presentation.
Right.
I'm going to do the law presentation. And we're going to review the new requirements for techs to give vaccines.
Right.
We got that law
talked about that passed. Yes.
So thanks to our members for supporting us on the legal issue of that. But we're going to go over what the requirements are.
Right.
We're going to talk about all things technician. Tech. We're going to talk about all of the rules and regulations surrounding pharmacy technicians.
Very cool.
So it's not just for technicians to attend.
Right.
I mean, I know that technicians need an hour of law CE to recertify.
Right. Okay.
With PTCB and other certifying bodies, but this will be an hour of law CE focused on technicians, and pharmacists would be welcome to join as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. And that's a virtual event, correct?
That is.
Okay.
That is. And we've got information out there to RSVP or to sign up and get the Zoom link. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And then August 4th, we've mentioned this a few times, the HSync conference in Lincoln, bringing together our members who practice in the hospital health settings or in leadership roles and members of the industry network. So we're going to kind of merge the two together.
Right.
Get them face to face. And it was a big success last year. The one that we did, it was our first one last year that Raj was a big part of. So there will be sessions on trends in hospital, health systems, pharmacy, a 340B point / counterpoint,
right?
Cultivating leaders and preparing the next generation by building strong preceptors. So yeah, Raj, again, many thanks to him for getting that one started last year and then helping to get this one going this year.
Yeah,
so
we're well on our way to a really good program.
Yeah.
And HSync to me sounds like a boy band. Every time I hear that,
HSync coming to you soon.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
That's
what
I think.
Yeah, we'll have someone do a little.
Yeah,
little act while we're there.
That would be lovely.
We'll bring Raj back for that.
Yeah. On August 24th, we have secured, I'm very excited about this, the president of PAS National. And PAS is the Pharmacy Audit Assistance Service.
Okay.
So this is a subscription organization that people can belong to that really helps with insurance claim audits.
Okay, cool.
But super excited because he's going to talk about interchangeable biologics and the risks of dispensing off label. So this is something that pharmacists are facing all the time. So
okay, cool.
This is going to be a really good presentation. And cool. September 18th, we'll be at the Board of Pharmacy meeting again.
Okay, that's an every other month.
Yeah, it's every other month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then October 5th through 7th,
yes.
We've talked about too, Fall Pharmacy Forum, members only event again. Our keynote will be Tim Olbrich, your financial pharmacist.
Yes.
We sent out a survey to see what our members want to learn about, mortgages, student loans, side hustles, investing. So it will be customized to our members' interests.
Right.
There will also be, again, the welcome box, which always has great goodies.
Yes. Big hit, the welcome box.
Yeah, people love the welcome box.
Yeah. And, this got OTC samples. Yeah. It's got swag from the NPA.
Right. Swag from other just pharmaceutical companies, other sponsors. It's got just all kinds of fun stuff.
All kinds of good stuff that you would normally get.
And some snacks.
If you went to an exhibit. So
right. Yes. So instead of having to go to exhibit, because this is a virtual programs. And then other topics will be Nebraska law updates, what's going on in Washington on the federal level,
right? And
then patient safety, and then we'll have some other things too. So
and I know that I think pharmacy technicians also have to have an hour of patient safety CE.
Oh, cool.
So this is how we can help pharmacy technicians get that 1 hour of patient safety continuing education that they need to renew their certification, in particular with PTCB.
Right. Oh, cool.
So,
Perfect.
Yeah. So make sure you follow the NPA page on Facebook.
Yep.
And if you're a member, we'll keep you posted, updated in the daily news dose, or you can go to our events page on our website, npharm.org.
Right. Yeah. Perfect. Okay. Well, stay tuned next month when we will introduce you to our new fellow, Haley.
Can't wait.
Yeah, she'll be our next podcast
That's going to be great. So thanks so much for joining us today on the 17th episode of
Pharm Girls.